Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, Fearless Freedom family. This is Dr. G. And oh my goodness, we are in some very interesting times. And I have to tell you that from the emergency physician's perspective, it is quite interesting indeed. We have, as humans, had the opportunity to make it through, to overcome, to really be resilient, just to really test our resilience whenever we are stressed individually, whenever we're stressed as a society. The thing that would prevent us from being a cohesive group, from helping each other, from getting through a difficult situation would be if we let fear get in the way of progress. And I am talking, and I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what has happened in the last several months that has completely changed the perspective of not only many of us, but also has changed the world perspective. And that is the onslaught of COVID-19 or coronavirus. This particular strain has been particularly troublesome and has caused quite a lot of havoc in several countries. It has been the source of a lot of anguish, a lot of angst, a lot of pain, a lot of fear. And there have been some actions taken by those who are at the front lines in an attempt to curb the spread and to do what we are calling flatten the curve. And the lessons that we've learned from our colleagues and from our fellow humans who have been in places that have been greatly affected by this are very important lessons. Above all, you guys, above all is actually really making sure that we do not let fear stop us from helping another human being, from doing the things that are going to be beneficial. So, what are some of the things that we can do as an individual? Well, the first thing that we can do is definitely ensure that we have been practicing, or that we do now start practicing, excellent hand hygiene. So what does that mean? That means washing your hands, okay? And I'm not talking about washing your hands by running some water on it for a couple seconds and then moving on. I'm talking about washing your hands for a good 20 to 30 seconds. So the amount of time, and this is how we've taught our children, the amount of time that it takes to literally sing the alphabet song is essentially the amount of time that you need to be washing your hands. And why is this important? This is important because the virus itself is not a very structurally strong virus. It is easily denatured, and it is easily denatured by soap and water, washing your hands, also by alcohol. So this is the reason why we have been really pushing for people to wash their hands and to walk with hand sanitizer, to sanitize their hands as much as possible, because that is what is going to kill the virus and prevent the spread. The other thing that maybe folks don't completely understand, but it is definitely worth mentioning, and mentioning over and over until it becomes completely clear, and that is practicing social distancing. So this can affect us, right? This can affect our lives, and we may be hesitant to do this if we are healthy and we don't see the need to do this. But I will tell you why it is imperative. It's imperative because what they've noticed in the areas where it has spread and has caused a lot of havoc is that when social distancing is practiced, the curve of spread is incredibly flattened. Okay, so that is what we're talking about when we say flatten the curve. So decrease the amount of individuals who are affected by this virus. So social distancing, what is that? So that means that do your very best to not gather in situations where there are a lot of human beings, right? So this is the reason why the NBA has canceled their events. This is the reason why large conferences all across the nation and the world have canceled their events. It's interesting because literally about a week ago, almost, yeah, it was a week ago, I was at Podfest, and it was awesome because live events can be incredible. Live events are often opportunity for you to have those hallway conversations, to make those collaborations that would not necessarily happen. Live events are amazing, right? But that was right before everything basically came to a head and decisions were made to not do any large meetings for quite a while. And so I was grateful to have been at Podfest. I was absolutely enthralled by all of the amazing content, all of the creators that were there that were absolutely amazing. It was an honor to be able to speak at the conference. It was a culmination of, facing my fear of public speaking as well as a marriage between the public speaking address of my fear and the podcasting address of my fear. So I got to talk about fear, which I love to do. You guys know that. And it was incredible. So I am super happy that I had an opportunity to do that. But I'll tell you that I totally get it. I get it. As someone who is in the emergency department, I actually worked this particular weekend, and I am just seeing, what can happen. I'm envisioning what can happen, and we are bracing for it. We are definitely bracing for it. We are making sure that we have the resources. We're making sure that we have the manpower on hand. But I'll have to say that it is stressful, you guys. Now, my job is very stressful, and I have accepted that stress. I mean, this is the reason why I chose to do emergency medicine. I knew that it would be high stakes. I knew that there would be little data and having to make decisions on little data. I knew that it was risky in the sense that, we are always on the cusp as emergency physicians of losing somebody or missing something because the data piece was just not there, or because the presentation was not in a pattern that we've seen before. I mean, there are just so many variables that can completely derail the trajectory of something that's happening. And when you're dealing with life and death, that is extremely stressful. But I had accepted that stress. I accepted that stress. I accepted that uncertainty. I accepted that possibility that maybe I might not get every single thing that comes through the door, but I accepted that stress and that risk because the 99.9% of the time we get it right. We figure out what is going to be the thing that's acutely dangerous and we rectify that. Or we get the patient in the pathway to get it rectified. So I am extremely privileged and proud to be an emergency physician. I have been doing this for the last 15 years, and it has been amazing. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there have not been ups and downs. I'm not going to tell you that there were not times when I was personally burnt out as a physician and wanted to walk away from medicine, because then I would be lying. I definitely have been there. But I also can tell you that there is nothing more it's nothing more rewarding than helping a patient be better in the acute phase. There's nothing more rewarding than being able to reassure a patient that their problem is not the cancer or the thing that they thought and feared the most, and having them be able to go home with some peace of mind. There's nothing more rewarding than taking care of an elder and having them be able to tell their story in the few minutes that we have together. There's so many things about what I do and what we do as emergency personnel that is incredibly rewarding. But we are on the front line and we are at risk. And in this situation where we are learning, we are growing on a daily basis, we are doing the best that we can in order to make sure that we are able to help those that are in the greatest need in our society. There is fear involved, you guys. There is fear involved, there is anxiety involved, there is stress involved. The stress that we feel as emergency physicians, and again, I am speaking for myself, and I am speaking for some colleagues that I have talked to about this. This particular stress is different. It is different from what we are accustomed to. It is different from that high stakes, low data, have to make a decision and live with that decision kind of stress. This stress is the stress of being on the front lines, being that first point of contact, and also being in a situation where perhaps there may be a time when we have to make some decisions that we just don't ever want to make. So I don't know what the trajectory is going to be locally for me. I don't know what the trajectory is going to end up being nationally in the United States. We have seen what has happened. We have seen the toll that it has taken on those healthcare personnel who are in the front lines in China and in Italy. It is tremendous. It is a stress that is not trained. You can't train for this kind of stress. It is a stress that is just so incredible. And, we went into this, we chose this pathway because we have altruistic goals. We have altruistic intentions. Going into medicine has always been because of the need, the desire, the passion to help others, to help other human beings be well, be better. And so this is no different. We are no different. So, I'm saying all this because I have to tell you that I definitely felt that additional stress. It was a new feeling. And then I realized the reason why that additional stress was so impactful, and the reason why it probably is so impactful on my colleagues and so impactful on healthcare personnel across the world who are dealing with this, some having to deal with it on a larger scale than others. For myself, we are at the beginning, right? We are trying our very best to ensure that our communities are not affected dramatically by this, right? So we're taking the appropriate measures in which to do this. And so, when we have to deal with the fear and the stress that the general public is feeling, it just adds to our own stress. And I'm saying this because this is not the majority of people that we're encountering. This is maybe a handful, but it is a different kind of micro trauma that can definitely devastate us. And we are human beings, okay? And I never want to I never would basically say that, we're anything different, because we're not. We're human beings. We're fallible. We have emotions, despite the fact that we have to contain those emotions when we are dealing in an emergency situation, when we are dealing with critical decisions. We have to bottle our emotions. So when we're faced in a situation where there is increased stress because we are in a situation that is a different kind of stress, we are thinking about our families. We are thinking about, whether or not if we get in, we're thinking about the possibility that if we get infected, we're no longer going to be able to serve. We're thinking about all these things that we never had to think about before. And so we are already enduring a different battle. We are facing our own fears of what I just mentioned, becoming infected, having to be quarantined. becoming burnt out, stressed out, tired from serving if things get to be worse and we're having to stretch ourselves even more as far as serving in many capacities. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. And this is real talk, you guys. I just wanted to get on here and to speak my heart, because I feel like we don't talk about that. We don't always share what we're feeling as physicians, as healthcare professionals. We don't always share that, because we have to present to you a solid, confident, reassuring presence. We cannot show you that we too have fear. We cannot show you that we too have anxiety about the future. We cannot show you that we feel fear that we are going to get to that point where we're not going to be able to help. And that is what we want to do. We want to be able to help. We don't want to be in a situation where we can't. So when we have someone or some people that come into the emergency department and do not have the symptoms, do not have the risk of having this problem, and then they become very demanding about getting testing, despite the fact that they don't need to have testing done, it wears on us. When we have someone who is belligerent about this, it is very taxing. So, like I said, 99.9% of the time, that is not what's happening. But it is that one time that makes all the difference. So, I'm saying all this also because I had a couple conversations with friends of mine who have been patients recently in the emergency department. One particular person, she basically said that, as she was leaving the department, she basically said to the staff, I hope you guys will stay healthy and be able to continue to help. And she got no response, right? Nobody said anything. Nobody said thank you. Nobody said anything. And the reason why, and I wasn't there, but my conjecture is the reason why there was no response is because we are all dealing with that stress. So I just want to say to you though, that even if you don't get a response, just realize that thank you means so much. That thank you means more than platinum, okay? Because we don't always get a thank you. And sometimes a thank you can mean an extra pep in the step. Sometimes a thank you can mean an extra boost to get you through the remaining portions of your shift. So, I just hope that we will be cognizant that the folks that are caring for us right now are human, and we are all under a different kind of stress. We are facing a different kind of fear than we've ever faced. And it is weighing, and it is taking a toll. So, I'm just like, this is a I guess a request, I would say. So if you know anyone who is in the medical field right now, who is on the front lines, somebody who is in EMS, somebody who is in the emergency department, someone who works in ICU, someone who is an anesthesiologist, someone who is a surgeon, anyone that who is in the medical field right now, who is maybe feeling that additional fear, that additional stress from what's happening, please, I implore you to say thank you. Give them a pat on the back, an attaboy, an attagirl, because it makes all the difference in dealing with that new fear that we're facing, in dealing with that new stress that we're facing. And the other part of this is, when the health officials basically say, let's practice social distancing, and we can have all kinds of feelings about this. I know I've had a couple of discussions with younger people and who are in the public space, and some people are a little oblivious to the impact, right? So the reason why we do social distancing is not to protect you, okay? You as a young, healthy person, it's not to protect you, because what we've seen so far is that the number of people that are adversely affected by this are not young people. Now, yes, there have been young people that have died. I'm not going to say that that's not the case, but that is not the norm. The people who are going to be impacted the most are going to be our elders as well as our immunocompromised um, colleagues, immunocompromised community members. So who is that, right? So anybody who's taking long-term steroids is immunocompromised. Anyone who is on chemotherapy is immunocompromised. Anyone who has any of these autoimmune diseases that require them to take, autoimmune suppressant drugs. So, when we think about it, there are quite a lot of those among us who are immunocompromised. So when you, as a healthy person, goes out there and gathers in large groups and doesn't practice social distancing, or maybe you have been told that your children's school is canceled, and I get it, there's a different stress associated with that because now you have to worry about childcare and you have to do some rearranging in your life to continue to work, and I get that absolutely. But at the same time, you may have someone who is living right next to you who is maybe immunocompromised, or you may have somebody that lives down the hallway or lives down the street that is an elder, and you're helping to protect them. That is the whole point. We want to flatten the curve by helping to protect the most vulnerable among us, and that would be our elders, and that would be those who are immunocompromised. So, I totally get that it's very inconvenient. It is very inconvenient to have your children home when you're not used to it. Now, we homeschool, so for us it's not a big a deal. But I totally understand that it can be a huge deal for a lot of families who are not in that particular setup. But please be mindful that the reason why we're doing this is because we want to protect those among us that are vulnerable, and those being the immunocompromised among us as well as our elderly population. So I just wanted to get on here, guys, and just let you know that, we are in a time that is filled with fear. I mean, as is manifested by the sequestration of all the toilet paper. I get it. I totally get it. But let's do what we do as human beings. Let's band together. Let's help each other. Let's think about ways in which we can thwart the progress of this strain of coronavirus. So I know this is a pretty deep and a little bit more serious a podcast episode, but I kind of felt like it was on my heart and I had to get it out. I mean, literally, this podcast episode is being recorded, late on Sunday afternoon, which is not my usual style. Usually the episode is out by noon on Sunday, but I worked last night and I was super tired this morning, but I had to get this out because I felt like I had to share my thoughts on the topic, and I had to share how it relates to fear and facing fear. And so that's what I have for you guys today. On a lighter note, I do want to tell you guys that I am extremely excited. So talking about things that are going to basically be in line with social distancing, but yet still connect us. So podcasting obviously is a great way to be in the air of those that you care about, your tribe, etc. So podcasting is a great way to get more people in your sphere to hear your expertise. So whether you are a lawyer, you are a doctor, you are a plumber, you are whatever it is that you do, if you want to get the information out about your craft, about your expertise, podcasting is a phenomenal way in which to do that. So I have fallen in love with podcasting. You guys know that. I never expected it. I basically started a podcast because I was afraid of public speaking, and I figured it would be a great way to get better at dealing with that fear. And it has been a godsend, let me tell you. It has been therapy. It has been connection. It has been opportunity. It has been so much. It has related so much to personal growth. It has related to being able to help others grow. It has just been tremendous. And so, of course, I'm a huge fan. So this year, I decided that I was going to face my own fear again and create a podcasting course. And this course is specifically for professional women. So whether you are a female entrepreneur, or you're working in corporate, or you're a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, if you're a professional female, this was a course that is designed for you. So I hem and hawed about it, as you guys know, because I was afraid that nobody was going to be able to come to the course. And, I was going to prepare this thing and it's going to totally be crickets, right? This is my fear. Again, unfounded, but it's my fear. I'm just being real with you. So I'm happy to announce, you guys. Oh, I am so happy to announce that the course is finally going to happen. I said January, then I said February, but it is coming. It is imminent. And I am doing the webinar for the course on Tuesday of this week, and that is the 17th. Okay, so March 17th, I'm going to be doing the webinar for the course, and it is going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you ever had been on the fence and you have wanted to start your podcast and you just didn't know how, or you've wanted to start it and you had all of those fears that popped up, like, oh, I'm afraid no one's going to listen. Oh, I'm afraid that I don't have the equipment, or whatever it is that has been stopping you, let's not do that anymore. Okay, let's just put that away, because your tribe is waiting for you. They want to hear your voice. They want what you have to give. They want your content. If you're a teacher, they want to hear what you have to say. If you are a dentist, they want to learn about your craft. They want to know what they need to do when they're not in your presence. Your tribe wants to hear you. Your tribe wants to learn from you. Your tribe wants to get to know you even more. And podcasting is phenomenal in getting that done. So, yes, I am excited, you guys, because it is happening. It is totally happening. I have to pinch myself. But I want you guys all to be on the journey with me. I want you to be able to experience this as well. I want you to rise, and I want you to hit it out of the park, into the stratosphere. I want you to be able to have success in this. And so, I definitely want you to join me on the podcast launch webinar. And I definitely would love it if you would spread the word about it. The link is going to be in the show notes, but it is located at www.podcastinglaunch.com. So I hope that you guys will join me on Tuesday night. I feel like it's going to be amazing, and you are going to fall in love with doing this. And you're going to be able to get your voice out to your clients, your patients, to those in your tribe, even in this time when we have to practice social distancing. This is Dr. G, and thank you for listening. See you next time. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.